What's up, YouTube? Welcome back. So this video is going to be a rant, and it's going to be a rant about something that I saw happen very recently in the colorism sector of YouTube. And you know, it happened with a particular YouTube user who's extremely popular within the colorism sector of YouTube. The black colorism sector of YouTube. And this YouTube user um, has a platform that's dedicated to addressing and tackling colorism issues within the black community. And I think you all know who I'm talking about. And by chance, if you don't, ask somebody. All right, so in a recent video that this particular YouTube user who talks about colorism did, she did a video about a white female rapper who pretty much said that black women don't support her and coming off as if she's feeling entitled to black women supporting her. And of course the YouTube user shut her down, shut down that bullshit, saying that basically you ain't entitled. And if you do get it, you need to be thankful and just shut up, right? And of course no one really had any issues about that. The issue came up where the YouTube user had acknowledged white female allies and some, particularly some black women who follow her, and probably some who kind of maybe troll her maybe as well, came through and was like, took issues with that, right? They weren't feeling it, they didn't like it, and some of them didn't like it because they felt like maybe that YouTube user, maybe they felt like she was being fooled. That was one issue, like, oh, you letting these women fool you, got them thinking that there are allies, and they're like, basically we ain't got no allies, right? Then the other group of women are like, like, oh yeah, I've been, sensing this about you for a while, quote unquote, almost like quote unquote, you're an agent almost, And they kind of feel like, oh, you're going to just use black women to get to where you're trying to go and then kick black women to the curb. And generally speaking, not in this situation, because I don't think that's the case. But generally speaking, I do think that is a valid concern just for black people in general, because that has played out time and time again, many a time, where black people have been used like so much. And, once people have gotten to the point where they're trying to get to, then they do kick black people to the curb. So I do think that in generally speaking, I do think that's a valid concern, right? Non-black people do this, but also black people do this, right? And again, I don't think this is the case with this particular YouTube user, um, but perhaps maybe they're just not familiar with this YouTube user, perhaps, or maybe they just feel like reaching today. I don't know. Then there's another group of women who coming at this particular YouTube user because they feel like, well, they didn't like her to begin with. I don't think they had issues with her to begin with. And they're just using this situation now to get at her, since they kind of have like, somewhat of a valid reason to, quote unquote, get at her and, come for her edges or, whatever you want to call it, drag her. And, I did see something come up where it was like, oh, you be trying to encourage black women to get with white men, I'm like, here comes this shit again. I really don't think this particular YouTube user doesn't have a platform that's dedicated to, black women, expanding their options and interracially dating and swirling and, leaving Blackistan and going to Swirltopia. I don't really see that. However, this YouTube user does encourage black women to explore their options. For black women, some black women do push back on that. They ain't feeling that. Like, nuh-uh. It's all about the black kings for these black women. And they come through with their black king songs like, I'll never forsake the black king, baby, baby, not for no bread, not for no tit, not for no wedding ring from Ned. I will never forsake the black king. No, 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 no. I don't care. That white man is a billionaire. I don't care if Tyrone ain't got a house of his own. I'm gonna be with my black king, Tyrone, and he can sleep in my home. You can take that billionaire a white man, back over there, 'cause I don't care, baby. And you do see this playing out, like, black women, kind of, you already see this playing out in the media when it comes to black women, right? Very much the pushback on the interracial dating from some of the black women. And, that's a whole video in itself. And again, black women have the options to choose who, who they want to date, et cetera, et cetera, you know. But I do just, I find it interesting that this particular issue comes up within this context and this conversation, though, right? It's just like, it almost comes off as if this is something that you've been wanting to say for a minute, which it probably is, and I don't really even think that this is entirely valid, because this YouTube user doesn't really encourage black women to go to specifically white men. I think they may be confusing her with perhaps another YouTube user who tends to do that a bit more than she does. But yeah, I never really saw any video where she says, black women, dump Tyrone and get with Dustin. Black women, you need to get on this no nigga diet right here, right? I never really heard anything like that coming from this particular YouTube user. At most, it's just like, hey, if you're having trouble finding a black king, that's going to put a ring on it, then perhaps you should expand your options and, consider all your options, really, which really you should be doing anyway. You should be considering all of your options that are available to you. But, when black women hear that, that's very much fighting words for some black women. Like, And I do think that comes from partially from a place of insecurity, partially from wanting to kind of like stay in a certain situation and not do anything to get out of a certain situation. I think there's there's like comfortability, if that's a word, in sticking with what you know, right? Even though there's problems with what you know, sometimes some people will rather stick with what they know because perhaps they are afraid to move to something different, or perhaps they don't want to put in the energy to move into something different because, that's a part of, kind of like expanding your options too. Since you're expanding your options, you're going to open yourself up to being compared to other groups of people, right? And some black women, I think, are very much in love, almost have like a love affair with mediocrity at times when it comes to themselves and also when it comes to black men. And I do think that this is a trickle down effect that really affects the entire community in one way or another. Black women having low expectations when it comes to black men that honestly they would have higher expectations for non-black men than they would for black men. You know, and these would be the same women who want to shit on black women for exploring their options, but at the same time, you getting caught up in these fuck nigga situations, like say Mary J. Blige, Jill Scott, Sherry Shepherd. Yeah, like that Sherry Shepherd situation is something else, right? Because this dude, from what she said, he wasn't employed at the time. And also, I'm looking at the dude, and I'm like, Sherry, if you're gonna be a cake mama, you could at least kind of, you know, got more for your money. No shade, you know, but then, she's doing all this cake mama shit, right? And at the end of the day, what you got to show for it? Because she don't even want the kid that they had via surrogate. And then it was like rumors that they had the kid via a surrogate who he had a relationship with at one point. I'm not sure. That was just word on the street. So if that's the case, or Sherry's feeling that way, then it's like, okay, then Sherry's feeling extra, played, right? And also, Sherry did say that people in her life, were, telling her, hey, don't do this, right? But this is where kind of like black love goes wrong, you know? And as well, Wendy Williams is another example. You saw the bullshit that she was going through too, right? She goddamn falling out on TV and goddamn having to miss like weeks of work from all the stress she'd been put under and all the embarrassment she'd been going through in the media. Yeah, but black love, black women, they in love with the struggle. I love the struggle with my black cane, baby. I can't do a thing but just submit to my black cane. Yeah. I rise and dies for my black cane. Yes, 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 yes. And these other women, these swirling women, shame, shame, shame on you. How can you not ride and die for a black king? How could you go over there to Brad with his wedding ring? Me and Tyrone gonna be living in my home. Yeah. While you and Brad gonna be in his bachelor pad. Mhm. So, there's some issue going on there with black women, right? And I just feel partially it comes from just low self-esteem. I do think there is some self-esteem issues throughout the black community, both men and women, but especially when it comes to black women, I do think there is a self-esteem issue at play. Again, that's just my opinion. If you don't like it, pop off in the comments section. All right. But yeah, I do feel like black women go harder on other black women than they do other groups of people at times. And I'm not sure where that comes from, just as I feel like black people go harder on black people than they do other groups of people. I'm not sure exactly where that comes from, but that is a thing that I have seen play out before, and you probably have seen it play out too. And in regards to this particular YouTube user, I've seen this play out before, and I've even acknowledged this before, where I kind of just feel like if this YouTube user were a black male, then this wouldn't really be an issue. Like, her acknowledging non-black allies, and I think some people just feel some sort of a way just because they kind of in the culture that we're in right now. It's just, I don't know, maybe people are just a bit more cautious and a bit more suspicious at this point, just because we kind of are at a point where we're like, low key, like quote unquote woke, And they may be feeling like, the YouTube user just, went back to sleep maybe. I don't know. You know. And by the way, to be fair, the black female swirlers sometimes, they be having their songs too. They be having their songs too, where it's just like, white daddy, can you rescue me from Blackistan, please? White daddy, white daddy, save me from these fuck niggas, please. White daddy, please, please, oh please. White daddy, I believe in you. Fairy tales can come true, so I will wait for you. White daddy, oh yeah, oh. White daddy, can you rescue, can you rescue, can you rescue me from black sand, backstand, oh please. Can you rescue, can you rescue, can you rescue me? I'm on this no nigga diet just for you. So yeah, they got their songs too. um, but yeah, back to black women going at other black women, really hard, right? And I feel like these same black women, when it come at the black men as hard for some reason. And I guess maybe it's like, oh, it's a woman versus a woman, maybe, But I just feel like the criticism isn't as strong when it comes to these black women having criticism for black men versus these black women having criticism for black women at times. I feel like when it comes to black men, the bar is set lower, oddly enough. Like almost to a point where I'm like, is there even a bar? It's like, at this point, it just seems like, any and everything is acceptable, or almost any and everything is acceptable. Like the littlest thing can get like Black Cane trophies thrown at thrown at these dudes, like, oh, this Black Cane, he bought me a knife. Black Cane, thank you. That's a Black Cane. Oh, I'm gonna buy me a spoon too. Yes, 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 Black Cane. Even though I paid for the meal, he still bought me a couple of pins. Yes, 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 yes. Napkins too. Thank. Ain't nothing like a Black Cane. Yes. Woo. Got me about to catch the Black Cane. Holy Ghost today. Yeah. But when it comes to black women, seemingly the bar is set higher. It's like you gotta damn near move heaven and earth to get a Black Queen trophy. Shit. Like, like for instance, like if a Black Cane made this magazine right here, it would have been 1,001 Black Cane songs born that minute of the day. Shit. And a million billion Black Cane trophies thrown his way. If he had made this magazine, they would have been coming through like, Black Cane, Black Cane. He made this magazine. I don't care about his past. No. Cause every saint got a past. And every Black Cane got a future, baby. Yeah. Leveling up. Black Cane want us to level up. Yes. Anything you say. Black women's obsession with the struggle. Yes. Black Cane care about us. Yeah. The power of femininity. Black King want us to be feminine. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, finally getting real about colorism. Black King acknowledged this, so it's a thing now. Yes. Let me read this magazine. All right. Hmm. Oh. Hmm. Editor-in-Chief, Christina. Hmm. That doesn't sound like a Black King. It sounds like a Black Queen. Hmm. 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 A Black King? A Black King didn't make this magazine? A Black Queen made this magazine? Hmm. Well, I don't know if I could support this. Hmm. I gotta check with my Black King about this. Black King, can I support this magazine? Nope. Sorry, sis. I'm sorry about that. I can't support this magazine. I'm sorry, sis. But you know what, sis? Let me do you one good. I'm gonna ask Black King why usually I don't question Black King. I don't question my Black King now. You know, because Black King's word is gospel, baby. But I'm gonna do you one good. I'm gonna ask why. So, Black King, why can't I support this magazine? Oh, where the red bones at? Yeah, I don't see any red bones. Now, where's the light-skinned women in this magazine? Yeah, I don't. Yeah, Black King, that's a good point. Yeah, I think this might be a little bit divisive. Hmm. Yeah. And also, where are the Black Kings at in this magazine? Where are the Black Kings at, too? It's supposed to be divine dark skin, ain't it? Where the Black Kings at? They got divine dark skin too. Chocolate Black Kings. Dark chocolate Black Kings. Yes, yes, yes. Extra, extra, extra dark chocolate. A sugar rush, baby. But yeah, I don't think I can support this magazine. This is a little bit divisive. There's no red bones. There's no white skin, no mixed women. I think you're trying to divide us. It would have been different if you were a Black King doing this, but I think you might be a little bit jealous, a little bitter, a little insecure. Yep, should have been Divine Redbone magazine. Yeah, it should have been. Yeah, you're right. Yes, that is correct. It should have been Divine Redbone magazine. And it should have been having a whole bunch of red bones with chocolate cakes. And I ain't insecure. See, I'm not insecure like someone. See, I ain't afraid to open up my spaces to be undermined by mixed and biracial women because I'm not bitter and insecure. I'm secure with mine. I ain't gonna open my space up to, mixed, biracial, non-black men though. Chocolate Black King for me, baby. Ain't that right? Shut your ass up and make me a sandwich. See? Black King on something to eat. Gonna make Black King a sandwich. Yeah. And take off that red lipstick, ho. See, Black King, he come through. He know how he want his Black Queen to look. But back to business and back to being serious, though. So yeah, I do think there's definitely a hidden bias at play. And again, I've spoken about this before, right? I think this is more so the video where I kind of more so have explored a little bit more about the hidden bias, but I still don't know where exactly the hidden bias really comes from, other than just maybe people maybe viewing darker skinned black women, or just black women in general to an extent, you know, in a certain light, perhaps. And of course, there's the whole dynamics when it comes to gender, right? And if you add colorism in there, then it makes it even more complicated as well. But yeah, you know, it's it's something. I think it's a topic that should be explored when it comes to how black women kind of interact with other black women, particularly when it comes to negative interactions, right? With other black women. You know, not to say that other groups of people and other genders, don't have negative interactions with each other. But I think that, I don't know, I think that it could be a little different when it comes to black women. I don't know why. That's just something that I've noticed and something that I've seen. You know, um, you know, and also I do think that many black women are very much black male identified, as quiet as it's kept. Almost to a point where I think they kind of see themselves more through black men than them see themselves through black women. I think that's something that is at play too. You know, because oftentimes I'll see, black women going, very much hard in the paint for black men. And sometimes I think that they kind of feel like it trickles down to them. In some cases, perhaps, but in a lot of cases, I don't think that's the truth. you know. And, sometimes I do even see black women filing some of these niggas' colorism complaints, particularly darker skinned black men's colorism complaints. And I'm like, either they're filing them or they're helping, push them along. And I'm just like, well, I can understand where they're coming from with that, you know, but oftentimes I don't see how it directly benefits them. Really, I think they should just stay out of it and let these niggas file their own colorism complaints. But again, black women often have to engage in this behavior in order to get validation, you know, because oftentimes black women don't receive the validation that other women receive based on looks, right? Other groups of women typically receive their validation based on their looks, right? Black women, on the other hand, receive their validation based on being the ride or die chick, you know, being the mammy, being the mule, and social justice activism, pro black social justice activism, and going hard for black men's issues. And low key, it tends to create sort of like a weird flip in gender dynamics and gender roles, where it's almost like, well, the black women are pretty much taking on the role of black men, that the role that black men should be having, right? And black women, the black men are sitting back, being chocolate beauties, being uplifted for their, chocolate, extra, extra, extra dark chocolate skin tone, right? And sometimes, these dudes be looking like, straight up the Crypt Keeper. And these women still uplifting these dudes because they want to be seen as pro-black and they want a cookie and a Scooby snack from these niggas. And this is how you get it. It's very much a performance, honestly, if you really look at it when it comes to this whole, chocolate beauties, the black women uplifting the true chocolate beauties of the black community, dark skin, brown skin black men. It's very much a performance, actually. And they're doing it for a reaction. It's like again, you're putting on a performance because you want a reaction. You want to put on a show, right? And you want people to like the show, right? Not saying that they don't like them at all, but I'm just saying it's like when it comes to black women who like biracial mixed men or non-black men, you don't really see them putting on this big spectacle, right? You just don't see that, you know. And from the almost from the look of it, you may not even think that, oh, black women, they're just not attracted to other groups of men, which is not, entirely true. But they just don't make a big deal out of it because they know if they do, they'll be pushback. And if they do make a big deal out of it, it tends to be in a certain space. They tend to make sure they're in like a safe space to do it, you know? And I could probably make a whole video on that issue and situation alone, really. But yeah, I just find that to be, all this to be very, very interesting. But I'm going to bring this video to a close. This was a rant, a bit long, my bad. But I just wanted to say a couple of things and put a couple of things out there, and let you know what I think. So until the next video, adios and goodbye for now.